body paragraphs. This video is a complete and full analysis of a body paragraph from a sample essay. Band 9 quality, zero grammatical errors in there, zero spelling mistakes, and all of the language has been upgraded. So we're using more sophisticated, less common vocabulary, and we've paid a lot of attention to cohesion and coherence and task achievement. What we're going to do in this video is we're going to analyze the paragraph, analyze the question, analyze the body paragraph, but we're going to analyze it alongside the official Band 9 band descriptors. So this way you can get a complete understanding of what's required of your writing, and hopefully you'll learn how to upgrade your writing skills. Now, this type of upgrading and these types of techniques that we're using in this body paragraph can be learned. I teach them on the online course I have at IELTSPodcast.com. Let's jump into it straight away and let's have a look. Of course, we're going to look at the question first. So we have this wonderful question. By the way, this is a recent question. I feel like Donald Trump when I do this. Anyway, this is a recent question, and it's one that's been seen on a recent exam paper. So as you can see, we have this wonderful copy of the band descriptors. This is a copy of the official one. I just had to copy paste it into a Google Doc instead of using the PDF because the PDF would have trademarks on that I'm not allowed to use. Anyway, let's jump into it. So, task achievement, cohesion and coherence, lexical resource, grammatical range and accuracy. These are all the 4 criteria that the examiner is going to use to review your IELTS essay. So we have the question. We start off with a question, and what I always do, and which I teach as well, is to cut this question up and allocate a paragraph to certain parts of the question. And then we're going to construct that paragraph in accordance to what's required from the question. So it might say, in this case, discuss both views and give your opinion. So I'm going to allocate one view to one paragraph because it's just easier. One paragraph, it says both views, 2 paragraphs, 1, 2, both. Then I'll probably finish with my opinion in the conclusion. So let's get to it. In this question, I decided to allocate one paragraph to women are equal. Okay, I simplified it. I got rid of the noise. I simplified it down. Women are equal. They should definitely serve in the army and the police. Okay, so I've got the idea now. I've got my direction, my argument. I've got my argument, my position. Now I'm going to back it up. So, as you can see here, we've got the paragraph. I'm not going to focus on this, but if you pause the video, you can see where I've upgraded the language and I've tried to make it more sophisticated using more advanced structures. We'll go into this in more detail later. And using more, just less common vocabulary or grammatical constructions. So this is what I wanted to show you. So we've got task achievement. I've highlighted it in purple here, and obviously we can't fully satisfy all the requirements of the task with just one body paragraph. We need 2 body paragraphs, the introduction and the conclusion. However, we can develop a full developed response, which is what I have done, and I've tried to indicate where that fully developed response is within the essay, or within the body paragraph specifically. So let's have a look. The question, task achievement is very strongly related to the question, obviously. So let's analyze the question first. In some countries, people think women should have equality with men, in particular equal rights to work as police officers or serve in the army. this is entirely body paragraph 1. Okay, that's why I have left the rest as red for the time being. Now, if we look through this essay, through this paragraph, perhaps you want to read it. Countless women throughout history have served pivotal roles in the shaping of societies. Whether, good structure, women should enjoy equal rights as men in this day and age is therefore a rather redundant question. Here it's kind of a little bit aggressive, but I'm taking a strong position. I'm just basically saying that this is redundant. There's no harm in doing this. It just shows a bit of character, and it shows possibly a little bit of aggression, but I'm strong. I feel strongly about this. So by saying that question is redundant, it's silly, it's not necessary, you can clearly infer that I'm not in agreement with it. So this is my response. This is my part of my developed response, and it's clear. Now, the yellow bits, although traditionally, okay, roles such as security or positions necessitating aggression have often gone to men, there is no scientific literature or precedent stating women are less capable. So you can see, I'm talking, although traditionally the roles, okay, which is what we're talking about. We're talking roles such as police officers or serving in the army. These are roles. Traditionally, they have gone to men. Also, you can see here that it does say men. And you can see as well in the earlier sentence I put whether women should enjoy equal rights. And in the question it says in particular equal rights. So ideally I would use synonyms, but it's not always possible to use synonyms because sometimes they're just not there. For example, with women, there's only so many ways you can say women, and likewise with equal rights. You could say equality. I think I've used that later on. I've definitely used it later on in the second paragraph. But not always is there a vast list of alternatives. So just bear that in mind. Don't go emptying your brain and stressing over it. Use the first one that comes to mind. And only use it if you're confident. If you're writing essays and getting feedback, by the way, which is a service you can get at my site, that's the time to experiment. Experiment when you're getting your essays reviewed by an expert essay corrector, but don't experiment at the exam. So as you can see, all the parts in yellow and refer to the fully developed response, also refer back to the question because I'm keeping on topic. The green bit, I'm talking about Peru, it's talking about countries. Also, it says in the question, should have equality with men. And then here, one way I managed to say the same was difference between genders. Okay, this just helps with Lexical Resource, but I'm keeping on topic. I'm trying to avoid using words directly from the question, but I'm keeping on topic. Also, I'm using female soldiers. So it's all related to the question. There's no way that I'm going off topic. So task achievement is definitely going to be answered there. Perhaps I could go into more detail about countries, but nevertheless, that's very much on topic. Perhaps in the second body paragraph, I'd go into more detail about countries just to make sure. Now, let's move on to cohesion and coherence. Before we get there, it's important to look at the criteria. Okay? Uses cohesion in such a way that it attracts no attention. This is for a band 9. So it's difficult to actually see the connection, especially in a band 9 essay. And also it says skillfully manages paragraphing. So let's see. Uses cohesion. So served pivotal roles in the shaping of society. What I did here, is all the parts in orange refer to the parts or the fragments of the paragraph that are pulling it together. Okay? It's not the easiest thing to explain at this level, at a Band 9 level, but the highlighted parts are referring to other parts in the paragraph or in the essay. So you can see here, have served pivotal roles in the shaping of societies. Pivotal roles refers back to these kinds of roles in the army, in the police, and that's what I'm referring back to, and I would have probably mentioned this in the introduction as well. So you can see that this refers to a point in the introduction, and this is why it's coherent, because there's the same thread, there's the same line of argument and topic going all the way through. And it's going to be not the same position, but it's going to be on the same topic all the way through the essay. This is what makes it coherent and cohesive. Now then, here we say therefore is a redundant question. So I'm referring back to the question, which is also, like we said, for task achievement, but I'm keeping it compact in one kind of like line of thought. Also, I'm talking about traditional roles here. Perhaps that should have been highlighted as well, because we're talking about police officers, we're talking about the pivotal roles. Also, we've got a tiny little bit of repetition there. Now, also, we're going to talk about scientific literature stating that women are less capable, okay, which is what we've been referring to before when I said they should enjoy equal rights. Whether women should enjoy equal rights is a redundant question. And then I'm saying that there's no scientific literature stating that women are less capable. So there is a connection there. It's not obvious, and that's why it doesn't attract attention. Hopefully you'll be able to see the link here. And then we go further. Here we're talking about less capable, and then we're talking about physically weaker. So again, there is that link between different sentences, and it's like the glue or the invisible thread that's going through all the words, just keeping the essay tight and together. Now, from physically weaker, I move on to strength difference, and then from strength difference, I talk about that it can be negated through sport, and then I'm talking about that exact sports routine or training program. I think I changed that to regime later. But anyway, I know it's there. So anyway, and then I'm going back to strength. So hopefully you'll be able to see here that there is a thread running through it, and it all keeps it together. Okay, and then at the end here, I'm talking about thorough preparation, which is what I'm talking about here, and then suitable for some positions, which is what I talked about at the beginning. So you can see that it all ties in together to make a very coherent paragraph. Now, let's move on to Lexical Resource. I personally think Lexical Resource is perhaps the easiest one to focus if you're looking to boost your score. And the reason for this is because there's less risk involved with changing certain vocabulary terms, whereas if you're experimenting or risking changing things with your grammar structure, it can have serious implications to the meaning of the sentence and to whether the reader understands it entirely. So let's move on. Lexical Resource uses a wide range of vocabulary with very natural and sophisticated control of lexical features. Rare minor errors occur only as slips. Well, there's no slips here, there's no errors. And there is I would say there is definitely a sophisticated control. How many times did you hear pivotal last week? Not that many. Enjoy equal rights. Here we do have equal rights here, but instead of using should have equal rights, I put should enjoy equal rights. It's more sophisticated. Also, I've used rather redundant instead of a very redundant question. I said it's a rather redundant question, so I'm upgrading it. That's probably more for grammatical range and accuracy, actually. Also, I changed, instead of needing aggression, I put necessitating aggression. It means something very similar, but I'm upgrading it. Now, the easiest way, I think, to upgrade your vocabulary is to use TSV, something that I've explained a lot about in other videos, and I go into it in quite detail in the online course I have at IELTS Podcast, but I'll just give you an example here. So here we're talking about equal rights, so I'm talking about gender equality, I'm talking about, the difference between genders. So I'm not constantly repeating equal rights or equality, which are terms from the question. I've managed to find alternatives. Also, I go on to talk about sport and the army. So obviously, if I'm talking about the army, I could have used instead in the Peruvian military instead of using army. Okay, that would be one way I could have improved it. Also, I've used soldiers, which is topic specific to the topic of army. Also, because I'm going into sports, I've used sports regimes, ruthless endurance program, and also I've used counterparts. Okay, so instead of talking about genders or repeating the term genders or equal rights between men and women, I've used the male counterparts, which basically means like their colleagues, their colleagues or competitors, just basically the people next to them. Not the best description, but you get the idea. So, so this is instances of all the green highlighted parts are instances of Band 9 vocabulary, and especially topic-specific vocabulary, or better said, sophisticated and accurately used vocabulary. So there's an extensive lexical resource there. Now, moving on finally to grammatical range and accuracy. This is perhaps, in my opinion, the most challenging and also the most important. And I'm saying this is the most important because if your grammar is messed up, there's no way that the examiner is going to be able to understand your essay and determine if you've actually fulfilled the task required. So this is why it's fundamental that you get your grammar under control. I'll go into this in a little bit in a second, but you can see here that the blue parts are where I've identified more advanced vocabulary, and like the other one, there's no slips and there's no errors. So here I've used whether instead of if. Here I've said pivotal roles in the shaping of societies. Okay, I think I'm using structures such as whereby. Okay, so we're just using these different structures to boost our score, and it's not the same grammar structures throughout the paragraph. There's a wider range. Here I'm starting with the gerund, returning to the question posed. It is now possible to state that women. So, by the way, that's a useful copy-paste sentence. Okay. Returning to the question posed, it is now possible to state that whatever. Anyway, so I think the best way to show this would be to go right to the top, where I actually went through and I've modified it. So instead of saying have equality, I put enjoy equal rights as men. Okay, enjoy equal rights as men in this day and age, instead of have equality with men in this day and age, is therefore a rather redundant question. Okay, traditional roles like security or positions, although traditionally roles such as security or positions, necessitating aggression have often gone to men. There's no scientific literature. Where is it now? Okay, so yeah, it's just improving it's looking for opportunities to improve your structures there and introduce more variety. So let's just go back here, and grammar like I said before, is very important, because if we cannot understand the sentence that's that you've written, then I can't tell if you've actually answered the question, because it's unclear. A good analogy would be the difference between running and walking through a lake, a shallow lake. Okay, you're walking like this, it is difficult to get anywhere, have to go back, have to reread, and also, can I even tell if it's coherent or not? And then if the grammar's messed up as well, I can't really get the idea of the sentence. It makes it more difficult to get the idea of the sentence, which makes it probably more difficult to understand if you've actually used the right vocabulary, because I can't even get the idea right in the first place. So this is why it's very important to get feedback on your essay. Now, if I were you, I'd try and find, I'll send a link where you've got this sentence, and I'll put a link to the band descriptors as well. And it's useful to go through, learn how to self-correct your own essay. And I think the best way to do that is to start, maybe I've got a few videos about correcting your own essays. It's a good skill to develop, but also I think the fastest way to improve is to start getting feedback. So thank you very much for watching. If you're struggling with IELTS, you don't have to struggle. There's lots of resources online, and there's my site. You can get feedback, you can get the online course. There's lots of material out there to help you. And if you're just at the beginning of this journey, perhaps you might just want to sign up for the IELTS materials that are free at IELTSPodcast.com. Okay, have a fantastic day, and chin up, as we say in the UK. Chin up means chin up. Don't keep your head down. You'll get through this.